I'm here with Chris from Bartlett Tree Expert. Hi, Chris.
How you doing, Gord?
Now, we have I guess you could say a large shrub or a small tree, a magnolia here. How do we deal with pruning? Now, pruning is often a very mystic thing for people. They don't want to do too much or too little. How do we deal with something like this?
Well, it shouldn't be a mystic thing. It's straightforward for the most part. The star magnolia I consider a small tree.
Okay.
And the first thing anybody should really do is stand back and envision what they want to see or what they think the tree should look like.
Yeah.
The magnolia, for example, what you want to train it to be is a tree or a shrub with a nice single straight leader.
Okay.
And you want branches up and down the trunk that are radially spaced from crown all the way down. Okay. And you also want a very good branch angle where the branch actually comes into the trunk of the tree. Okay. It should be about 45, 60 degrees right around there.
Okay, rather than being flat or pulled down.
Well, they can be flat or pulled down as they begin to mature, Gord, as you get a little bit of weight with the foliage. But this one is a little bit full. Okay. So all I'd really suggest is to give it a little bit of thinning so it enhances the architecture. Okay. Because trees have architecture, just like buildings. There's good and bad, and just to enhance the structure and the look of it. So where I'd start is I would begin to look at any diseased, dead or dying wood. Okay. And it doesn't really have any. So the next step I would do is look at any crossing branches, etc. Okay. And I see one right here. And here's two limbs on the tree that are going to begin to compete. Okay. And I can easily take one off the tree and not hinder the actual shape or look or the aesthetics of the tree at all. Okay. And I should mention that when you are removing a branch, really respect what's called a branch collar. And what a branch collar is a little swelling of tissue where the branch actually meets the stem. Okay. And if you look for it, it's quite defined, and you don't want to violate the branch collar. You want to cut just a little bit on the outside of that. Okay. And that'll help with the healing process? It helps with the whole compartmentalization of the tree itself. So magnolia, great tree, really requires very little pruning. It's pest resistant for the most part. I like them and I recommend them. They're great. Now we've also got a birch I'd like to have a look at because you really like the way the structure works. I do. Let's go and have a look. Perfect. So Chris, what makes this tree so unique, and why do you like it so much? Well, I like it, Gord, because it's come from the nursery, as all trees should, with very good form. Okay. And this is a birch. It's Cully's cultivar in the Birch Hall of Fame. Okay. And if you follow the central trunk up, it's a single leader tree, which is what it should be. It's got good radial branch spacing, and the branches are well spaced throughout the trunk of the tree. Okay. So you can bring it home, you can plant it. Very little needs to be done to it after that. Excellent. Now we've got some bigger ones that have a few problems. Can we have a look at those? Let's do that. So Chris, what seems to be wrong with this tree? It looks pretty good. Well, it does look pretty good, but it's got a couple of architectural issues with it, Gord. They can be remedied with some pretty easy corrective pruning. It's one of the red maple varieties. There's a whole series of the Morgan, Red Sunset, October Glory, and notorious for putting themselves together very poorly indeed. Now I noticed down lower on the trunk, it almost looks like there's sort of a crotch part there. Is that a weak area of the tree? It certainly can be, because you have to remember that branch and trunk are going to increase in diameter, and eventually you're going to end up with a situation called included bark, where both of the two stems and trunk begin to kind of grow together and push against each other. Okay. You have to remember too that they're going to increase in trunk diameter and branch diameter each year, so the attachment becomes very weak. Okay, so it could split right off. It can split right off the tree. Okay, now on top there I see some tape. It looks like electrician's tape possibly. And how did that come about, and why would that be there? Well, it was an old wound at one time. It's long since past that, but if you look just above the tape, Gord, what you're going to see is you're going to see 3 leaders. And with this tree, it's really imperative that you want to train it to a single leader. So what I'd recommend is make the selection for that single leader and suppress the other 2, so that single leader takes the dominant role. Perfect. Well, Chris, I really appreciate all this information. It's really important to know what a good tree looks like.